Jean-Baptiste Poquelin, who is most recognized by his stage name Moliere, is regarded as one of the greatest playwrights in France's golden age of literature. He was primarily a dramatist, and drama was the preeminent genre of Moliere's time. However, he was most noted for his satires and comedies. His most anthologized comedy, Tartuffe, is simultaneously his most controversial, despised, and loved play. It caused a moral and religious upheaval, and eventually the Catholic Church chose to ban anyone who went to see the play. The most common difficulty associated with reading Tartuffe comes from the expectations we bring to the play. If we anticipate characters with realistically conceived psychologies and events closely resembling what might occur in ordinary life, we'll be bewildered and irritated. It's important to know that the play depends on the particular forms of artifice called convention. In the first place, the play relies on the set of dramatic conventions associated with the comedy of manners. These conventions include the use of type characters or figures differentiated by role rather than psychology. The hypocrite, the clever maid, the blustering young man, the foolish but tyrannical father, and the naive young girl. Equally conventional is the structure of the plot, dependent not on plausibility, but on the design of providing pleasure, including particularly the pleasure of surprise, by its ingenuity and by demonstrating the restoration of a just social order and the punishment of deviance from that order. The play also assumes a set of social conventions. These have to do with the kind and degree of authority exercised by the father of a family. A father, for instance, has absolute power over his daughter's marital choices. He may be argued with but not refused. A wife's chastity is of paramount importance to her husband. A son's economic status depends entirely on his father's will. Thus, the father's role in the family resembles the king's in the country, a point of some importance at the end of Tartuffe. The first scene is a good place to start, both for reading aloud and for analysis. Mademoiselle Purnell's orders, "Come, come, Flipotti, it's time I left this place," encouraging readers to consider staging with everyone rushing to keep up with Madame Purnell. This hasty pace is contrasted with her leisure for denunciation extending to everyone in the household except Tartuffe, of course, and this creates comedy. However, there are some serious issues revealed in the first scenes, and they run throughout the play. The degree to which people are driven by their own obsessions to be blind to the needs of others. For example, the scene where Orgon hears of his wife's illness but concerns himself only with poor Tartuffe is funny, but disturbingly funny. The opening also introduces Damis, Marianne, and Valerie, and there is blindness, deliberate, in these characters as well. Tartuffe is also introduced via others' points of view, and early conclusions can be drawn about his sincerity. Many individual scenes of the play reward similar analysis. Particularly rich are the farcical scenes between Valerie and Dorine and the seduction scene with Orgon under the table. Analysis of almost any scene leads to investigation of the play's larger issues. Opinions differ regarding Tartuffe's attack on religion or attack on religious corruption, but the best defense makes reference to the text in Act 4, Scene 3. Elmira remarks, "My taste is for good-natured rectitude." What is good-natured morality or character? Cleante seems to have an idea in part when he discusses religious behavior in Act 6. What causes these people to be deluded? The ridiculous misunderstanding between Valerie and Marianne comes partly from the wish of each to have the other acknowledge need or desire first. If Valerie proclaimed his love when Marianne was actually willing to marry someone else, he would appear weak. Conversely, if Marianne says she'll not marry Tartuffe because she loves Valerie, she gives him the upper hand. Similar issues of power emerge in every situation. Orgon feels himself powerful in his role of benevolent patron to Tartuffe. He must believe in Tartuffe's goodness to believe in his own magnanimity. Tartuffe, to take the most obvious example, gains power by proclaiming his weakness and humility. This common element in the character's motivations is worth emphasizing because it's a reminder that the play lights up issues of perennial concern, not simply those inherent in a society with religious and political structures quite different from our own. Plot is also worth noting in a discussion about Tartuffe. Tartuffe's will to power, including the power of wealth, and Orgon's determination to indulge him, are the motivating forces producing an intertwined sequence of events that seem inevitable, given the premises. At what points in the play were you surprised by what happened next? Do the surprises reflect a real failure of plausibility or a failure of expectation? The most likely moments of surprise are Tartuffe's attempt to seize the house after he is unmasked and there is an expectation that all problems are solved. The final intervention of the king is another surprise. The first surprise derives from our expectations of comedy. We anticipate no really serious problems, and we assume that difficulties will be readily resolved in a comic scheme. Moliere's extra twist serves as a reminder that the problems announced in the play are in fact serious, and perhaps as a reminder that in the real world, problems are not so easily solved. The matter of the king is more complicated. To 21st century sensibilities, this may seem an arbitrary intervention or a piece of gross flattery, and perhaps it cannot be fully justified. However, it can be at least argued that the introduction of the king as a force in the action serves as a reminder that the family is a microcosm for larger patterns of social organization. Order must be restored in the family for order to operate in the kingdom. And it's only by the exercise of authority in this play that order exists. So where do Tartuffe and virtue collide? Virtue comes into focus when sharply contrasted with hypocrisy and vice. Think about Cleante's speech. All nursery rhymes that teach virtue do so by illustrating vice. The Brothers Grimm, how wonderfully named. Come to think of it, one of the greatest books on virtue, and the one commonly read, the Bible, devotes a great deal of space to vice. Maybe we dim humans need some of both to appreciate either.